The Capital Investment Entrance Scheme commenced in October 2003. It had the objective of allowing well-heeled people to take up residence in Hong Kong without them needing to join in or establish an operating business. The programme rules are reviewed regularly, and at this time the funds required are 10 million Hong Kong dollars with qualifying investments now excluding Hong Kong real property.
Looking at the Capital Investment Entrance Scheme and its bare essence, effectively if you invest 10 million Hong Kong dollars hard cash into Hong Kong, you can secure residency permissions on the basis that there's no security objection. So 10 million Hong Kong dollars gets you into the game. You have to put your $10 million into qualifying Hong Kong investment asset classes, which we'll look at in a subsequent slide. On that basis, you will be able to secure a 2-year period of stay, which is thereafter extendable every 2 years for 7 years. And then after you've hit the 7-year mark, if you've been continuously and ordinarily resident in Hong Kong for all of that time, and that you are able to declare that you've taken Hong Kong as your only place of permanent residence, then you will be able to make an application for the right of abode, which is permanent residency. Or, as of right, if you have held this immigration status for 7 years, irrespective of the fact that you have not had continuous ordinary residence in Hong Kong, the idea that you've kept your assets in Hong Kong for all of this time should then grant you the immigration privilege of unconditional stay, and therefore allowing you to release your 10 million Hong Kong dollars worth of assets and be able to use them elsewhere whilst continuing your immigration status in the HKSAR. 4 key considerations under the Capital Investment Entrance Scheme programme are that you are able to bring your family, defined as legal spouse and unmarried children under the age of 18 who secure dependent visas, that the 10 million Hong Kong dollars that you invest into Hong Kong needs to have been owned by you for at least 2 clear years prior to the application submission. And also you need to be able to show that in addition to the $10 million, you're able to support yourself in Hong Kong without drawing down on any of those $10 million worth of assets. The investments that you make will now be into Hong Kong financial investments only, so the notion of being able to buy an apartment and living in it with a value of over 10 million Hong Kong dollars at this stage in the process does not qualify as a permissible investment asset class. And in order to maintain the immigration status after you've secured it, you have to have your 10 million Hong Kong dollar portfolio maintained all throughout the time that you hold the visa. When the programme was first introduced, it raised a few eyebrows, and an economic commentator, Jake van der Kamp, made this observation in the South China Morning Post in October 2004. Effectively, he says, look, let's get it straight about this initiative to give foreigners in Hong Kong identity cards if they bring a certain amount of money with them. It does go to represent a complete misunderstanding of how our balance of payment system works, because foreigners who come to Hong Kong don't bring Hong Kong dollars, they don't have them at home, they bring their own currencies, and we then exchange them for Hong Kong dollars. This results in our holding their foreign currency denominated money, which we then spend or invest in their countries. So the net gain to us? Nothing. That notwithstanding, for many years there was no opportunity to make a mere financial investment into Hong Kong to secure immigration status. All investment visas needed to have a supporting or underlying business that would justify the grant of an investment visa. So the Capital Investment Entrance Scheme has added a very unique and also valuable addition to the immigration tools that are available for people wanting to take up residence in Hong Kong. But in order to be a qualifying nationality, you can be effectively any citizen except if you are a national of Afghanistan, Cuba, North Korea and Albania. You can be a Chinese resident of Macau, or indeed a non-Chinese resident of Macau and also of Taiwan. You can be a PRC passport holder, however you must have permanent residency overseas. You cannot be resident on the mainland. And if you are a stateless person that holds permanent residency in another country with the proven re-entry facilities into that country, you're also eligible to make an application under the Capital Investment Entrance Scheme programme. And taking a look at the pathway to approval under the Capital Investment Entrance Scheme, you need to be a minimum of 18 years of age to apply. You have to invest, as stated, 10 million Hong Kong dollars. You have to be able to show that you have held or beneficially owned those assets that are being invested into Hong Kong for a minimum period of 2 years prior to making the investment. That you need to invest within 6 months of either making your application or having your application approved in permissible investment asset classes, which are effectively cash funds into qualifying investments in Hong Kong. You have to be able to show that you have no adverse record, that's either immigration record or criminal record, either in Hong Kong or elsewhere. And as stated, you need to be self-sufficient over and above the 10 million Hong Kong dollars that you're going to invest into the HKCR. So as you can see, at this investment level, it is a visa program for the very well heeled. It is subjected to constant review, and in 2010 the Immigration Department raised the investment sum from 6.5 million to 10 million, and at a stroke removed real estate from the qualifying investment asset classes. So it's an indication of just how flexible this program is, and we will see the Immigration Department review it subsequently, and it may be that these sums will get reduced one more time, and it could be at some stage in the future that real estate will get thrown back into the mix. Now, you can't put your money into real estate any longer. What can you put your money into? You can put them into equities, that is a Hong Kong Stock Exchange listed and Hong Kong dollar traded stocks and shares. Debt securities, again Hong Kong dollar denominated, issued, guaranteed by the Hong Kong government or Hong Kong Stock Exchange listed companies. These are typically the MTR Corporation or the Airport Corporation and other governmental institutions that provide infrastructure services to the HKCR and also are publicly traded in their own right. You can put your money into straightforward certificates of deposits on a minimum 12-month basis, but for portfolio maintenance requirements, these 12-month certificates of deposit need to be turned over constantly throughout the 7 years in order to maintain qualification under the scheme. You can also invest in subordinated debt issued by Hong Kong banks. You can put them into eligible collective investment funds. The Immigration Department publish a list of funds which are suitable and qualify under the scheme, and reference to the Immigration Department's website will show you exactly which of these funds will suffice for the purposes of approvability. And it's possible to make a combination of all of these permissible investment asset classes to which go to make up the total $10 million that you have to have invested. So you're committed to the program and you're going to put your money up. Therefore, how does it work? Well, if you've already invested the money in the 6 months immediately prior to application submission, or you will invest within 6 months of the approval in principle being granted, two different sets of outcomes emerge. If you are going to invest within 6 months of the approval in principle being granted, you then are granted a visitor visa for a maximum period of 6 months, which allows you to come to Hong Kong, and it allows you to sort out your investments and make your investment, and once that has been done, you are able to secure a formal approval, which naturally enough, if you've invested already prior to submitting the application, then you'll move straight to formal approval and you don't have to worry about the approval in principle procedures. Once formal approval is in hand, you get a 2-year visa which is issued to you, allowing you to land anytime 2 years after the visa has been issued, so it gives you sufficient time to make your move over to Hong Kong. And you will be able to secure an extension every 2 years after that, on the basis that you have maintained your $10 million portfolio all throughout that time. And the extension process is geared towards an assessment of portfolio maintenance. That's the key consideration for granting the extensions across the board. and once you've got 7 years permanent or 7 years continuous residence in Hong Kong, or you have held this immigration status, the capital investment entry scheme immigration status, for 7 years, you'll be able to either apply for the right of abode, or you'll be able to adjust your stay to unconditional stay status, and in either case you'll be able to release the 10 million Hong Kong dollars and put it into other uses, having served its purposes for under the capital investment entrance scheme. The next step is for you to review the visa information document. This details each of the essential elements of a successfully argued Hong Kong visa case and contains in-context links to all of the resources needed to prepare your application. These include application templates, the online application forms, screencasts on how to complete the forms, a checklist of all the documents you need to prepare as part of the submission bundle, a crib sheet on how to submit your application, and audio discussions of some of the finer points of official policy and procedure and specific case examples from the past, which will serve to help you by way of illustration. Let's go to the visa information document now.